if you want financial freedom, you got to put in the work. And the only way to do that is to be disciplined with habits. If you can't be disciplined enough to not spend what you don't have, then you might need to figure out where that came from. And you might need to do some, some therapy work.
There's this huge aspect of health and wellness that isn't talked about enough because, of course, we got the fitness component, we've got exercise, we've got nutrition, we've got sleep wellness, stress management. But one of the biggest stressors in people's lives is their finances. And I heard you say something really profound. You said that the mindset regarding fitness and health is very similar to the mindset we need to have with finances. So what do you mean by that?
Well, I think that both industries, financial and also, or your finances, however you want to state it, and your fitness, your health and well-being, people have it backwards. Because what happens is it's all has to do with the mindset, right? So what do you hear like in January, right after Christmas? People are all like, yeah, I'm gonna lose some weight and then I'm gonna get a gym membership. That's backwards. Go get the gym membership, because by getting that gym membership, it's gonna hold you accountable to get your little butt in the gym so that you can start your fitness journey and your health journey. But people are always like, I'm gonna wait until this. And all that is, and you know this very well, that's just an excuse. And people do the same thing with money. They're like, I don't have enough money to start. Or like they just look at it and it's too overwhelming for them, so they just push it aside. It's the same thing. I'm too overweight, or I'm not healthy enough, so I'm just going to push it aside. And they just let years go by, and it just keeps getting worse because they didn't change any habits, and they didn't focus on it, set goals and stuff like that.
Man, that's profound. And the thing is, like, it's festering underneath the surface, and it's going to keep popping up here and there, our lack of progress in that department. So today I really want to get some practical, simple things that any of us can do to really improve our financial fitness. And something that it changed the dynamic in my relationship and in our household regarding finances. And it was this debate between debit cards and credit cards and what's ideal for us to be using. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that.
I'm a big believer in credit cards and not using debit cards. There's a lots of reasons for that, but the number one reason is security. Like when you get your debit card stolen, it's an act of Congress to get your bank to like retrieve that and figure out like where it got stolen and if you're going to get refunded for that. And you have to do a lot of the work yourself. When it's a credit card, you call the credit card company and you're saying, my credit card got stolen or whatever. And they're like, we're going to get you a new one tomorrow. What are the charges? We're going to take those off. I mean, it's just like, it's a protection thing, right? Then the next step is because there's competition, all these credit cards have come up with cash back incentives to use their card. Now, we all know why they're doing that. It's because they want you to use their credit card so that with the hope that you don't pay off the balance at the end of the month, so that you can even accrue more. Because like you might be getting 2 or 3% back on cash back, but if you don't pay the balance, you're paying, look at your credit card, 16, 18, 25%. Yeah. So that math doesn't work out. So my policy with this is you got to be disciplined, but there is no reason to use a debit card when you can use a cashback credit card. Now, people are like, I don't trust myself with a credit card, but you trust yourself with a debit card. So if you have $100 in your account, in your debit card, and you're going to go get gas, I can fill up like $50 and I need to go get some groceries or something like that. Just put the $50 on your credit card, go home and link your debit card to your credit card and just transfer the funds. It's the same thing. But now you just gotten back whatever, 2 or 3% on your $50 gas price. We're talking about $50 gas. I don't know what car gets filled up these days with $50.
Moped.
But yeah, something.
Get a moped.
It's all over 100 now. But you see what I'm saying? So it doesn't make sense, because for the person that's always said, I don't trust myself with a credit card, but you can pay it off every night. because of technology now.
Right. The game has changed. We've got it right on our phone.
Yeah, we don't have to wait for a statement. Like I can go transfer. If I made a big payment and I know I have that money in my debit card, I can just go transfer it. Or if I'm waiting for my paycheck or something to come in and I know I'm going to have it, you just set a reminder. I'm going to pay for it. So it's the game has changed with the apps being on your phone.
So we've got two things. Number one, the security should be a clear winner here, especially again, everything is digital now. And then this cash back phenomenon, because for me, again, the thing that was making me hesitant was the fact that I know that credit card companies are betting against me, right? And their upside is huge.
Correct.
Versus I don't know what percentage of people are actually following this simple financial rule, which is paying off that balance. And they're just making so much money because people are incurring these charges because of interest. But if we can just have that practice, because this takes us back to fitness again.
Yeah, it's all discipline and habits. Yeah. I'm not going to say anything here today that's like, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not going to give you any crazy schemes, because guess what? Just like the fitness and health, there is no simple pill. You can't take a pill and, look like you with your shirt off. You have to go and put in the work. And if you want financial freedom, you got to put in the work. It's just like, I can't tell you to go put yourself $50 in this account and in 2 years you're going to be a millionaire. That's not accurate. That doesn't happen. You have to set yourself up for success. And the only way to do that is to be disciplined with habits. And if you can't be disciplined enough to not spend what you don't have, then you might need to figure out where that came from. And you might need to do some therapy work, because if you're like a self-sabotager and whether you're in fitness or finance, there's those people, those people that they make so much money but they always seem like they're in debt, or they're like struggling, or or they go to the gym all the time but there's not much results because there's something going on.
Yeah. Well, we got to circle back and talk about that psychology, because obviously that's all of our actions, all of our beliefs, the way that we think about money is based on our psychology, is based on our experiences, is based on our perception of things. So we definitely got to tackle this. But I also want to ask you about with the debit card, credit card phenomenon. So we're using credit cards. Now, there was someone that shared with me back in the day that carrying a certain balance helps to build your credit score, right? So I don't know if there's any truth to that, but what is the ideal method? Is it paying off our entire credit card each month, or paying off the balance due? What's the best practice
to improve your credit score?
Yeah.
So I'm not a credit score expert, but the general practice is that you can pay it off every single month, and that shows the creditors that you can pay it off. Plus, when you pay it off every month, they will increase it. They increase the balance, right, which helps the score, because basically the way you get your credit score is like, how much debt do you have to how much money income you have coming in. There's a percentage. That's why when they look at your house and to get a mortgage or anything like that, and when they run the credit report, they want to look. That's why they're asking for your W-2s. That's why they're asking for your 1099s. How much money are you making? Because they're like, okay, this couple brings in $150,000, but they have a lease payment on a car. They have credit cards that are $40,000. Maybe they owe the $40,000. That's all going against your credit score. So it's important to pay them off. That's not going to hurt your credit score. Paying off, it just shows that you have a good track record. You do want to make sure you pay your bills. That's like the number one thing. Like, the worst thing you can do is like be late. There's always good to like either all those free services where you can get your credit score, like Experian and those things like that. Those are good to like, get on a subscription so that you can get things, so you get notified, because they make mistakes. And like you all of a sudden you go to buy a house and you're like, you didn't make 5 car payments. You're like, I didn't even own that car. They make mistakes, and it will hurt your credit score. So make sure that you like understand where you can go and like look to see if there's any false stuff on your credit report. But the bottom line is if you're paying your bills on time and you're not carrying a high balance on those credit cards, your credit score is going to go up.
Yeah, it's again very logical, very simple.
Yeah.
But, for somebody like myself who's coming into this area of life with not just no knowledge, but negative knowledge, right? I remember getting my first credit card. I was walking around campus at my university, and they got the tables out, right? I remember they was giving out free T-shirts. One of them was like a Cartman T-shirt, was like college, it said college on it, right? Cartman from South Park, and which that should have been a red flag, right? Getting this particular T-shirt. But anyway, so they're just like they understand that we don't really know, especially being young college kids, if we're not getting this background,
Correct.
that we're going to probably make a decision that we don't really understand. And so I got a credit card, ended up shooting like right through that balance quickly, and just struggled
Yeah.
to pay it off constantly.
All of us did that.
Yeah.
We all did that. I mean, my wife and I, Shawn, did not get like serious about investing and getting things in order until 2006.
Wow.
So we were married 9 years before, we got after it. Now, I don't mind telling you know the story. I had a huge gambling problem, and that caused, we were making money, but I was also gambling it and putting us in horrible situation. So we've talked about this on the Shawn show, on Shaleen's podcast. We were over $400,000 in debt.
Shoo.
And so, we tell people like, it can be done. And in 2006, I mean, we got out of debt fast because we put together a plan. Like once, I went to therapy to, solve some of those issues of why I was gambling. Interesting thing, I still do all the finances for our family. I still invest. So I'm still in control of like where the money's going. She knows where it's all at, but I just kind of refocused my numbers and my addiction to a healthy addiction in terms of like, I want to learn everything I can about investing, saving money, making our business grow faster. And that's what I do. And it's been insane since 2006.
This is insane is like not even the word for it. You guys, this is the reason I wanted you to talk about these specific things, these daily and weekly and monthly day-to-day practices.
And 2006 wasn't long ago.
Yeah.
It's 16 years.
Yeah.
I mean, we got people listening right now that are, in their late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s. I mean, you could be very successful with a good investment portfolio and get yourself straight. I mean, by the time you're 50, and you still have your whole life in front of you. It was funny you're saying about the credit card is that one of my credit cards that I have, that I've always had, is American Express. Mm-hmm. And it says right on the bottom, member since 1990.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So whenever I call them or something like that, they're like, thank you so much for being, and it's like 1990.
Yeah. I was a baby.
Yeah.
I was a baby at that time.
That 32 years ago.
Yeah, man. You was out charging into the game in 1990.
No, we got it's an interesting story. So American Express was running this deal. If you were in college and you purchased a flight home, you could get the second flight for half off through your American Express card. So so when I transferred to Michigan State and met Shawn, we came home for spring break. So I paid for my flight and hers was half off because we got this credit card. And that's why we got the credit card. So back then we got it because there was a benefit.
Yeah.
And American Express is great too because you have to pay it off every month.
Yeah, man. And also they're really great about balances, increasing your balance.
Yes.
I was shocked.
Oh yeah.
Shocked how much. They were just like, oh, well, I was like, really?
Yeah, I mean, my other credit cards, so we have one we have American Express is for our personal and for our team Johnson. Now, I don't encourage you, your accountant won't tell you to put your business on your personal card, but we've always done it that way. So he was like, as long as you've always done it that way, you don't need to change because there's a consistency there. And then for our other businesses, we have another Visa card and it is a cashback card, Capital One.
But this speaks to also, just like with fitness and health, the individualization of things and paying attention to what works best for you. But there are some consistent holistic practices. And like I said, I wanted you here to talk about this because you've been through so many different aspects of what finances can look like. Literally, we're talking almost $500,000 in debt to having one of the most successful businesses in marketing and in the fitness space as well. And also doing this while still loving each other and having a family.
Yes.
You know,
Balance.
that's the thing that is so unique about you guys that, of course, we really resonate with because for us, it's a big part of my life is my family. Like I really, really.
You want to be there for
yes.
everything. You want to be there for games, and you want to not be like so attached to your work. And, you know, that's why we teach so early, like multiple streams of income. You know, how you know, working on one stream at a time, not trying to like spread yourself too thin, right? It's the same thing with fitness though. I thought driving up here, there's so many correlations. It's like, okay, when you hear people talk about like, you got to be diversified, right? Well, that's the same thing in fitness. You can't do the same thing every single day in fitness and get results. If you just ran every single day, you're not going to develop muscles. You're not going to, it's just a different thing. The most healthy people are the ones that are diversified, that are doing, you know, if they're lifting like their whole body. You know, they're lifting different body parts. They're also doing some cross training. They're also doing this. They're also getting, you know, massages. It's all part of like the health game. Same thing with like finances. You know, you have to have multiple streams of income. You have to have some real estate. You have to have invested in the stock market. You have to have a retirement plan. You know, you have to have all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So money's kind of growing even when you're not. I mean, that's the ultimate dream as entrepreneurs, is that, you know, have your money growing when you're spending time with your family and on vacation or at the ball game or whatever, you know, whatever it might be.
Yeah. And this time in human history has taught us this lesson more than any other. And if you don't get this lesson right now, it's, again, just having that one stream of income, which for a lot of folks is going to their job. They're exchanging their time for money.
Correct.
And all of a sudden that job doesn't exist anymore. That job lays you off. That job, you know, you're let go or whatever, downsizing. Now what, right? And so instead of having some other, and again, it could just be a small thing, a small, you know, maybe you have some merchandise, maybe you have an Amazon store, which by the way, you could, anything on Amazon, they have an Amazon's associate program. Correct. You could sell anything on their site and they'll pay you. Right.
Resell, go to garage sales and like the Gary Vee was doing and find bargains. One of our customers, one of our Marketing Impact Academy people, they flip. They're market flippers. They literally they travel all around with their family. They buy stuff for $50 that they know that they can flip for $1,000, and they've created a great life that way.
There's like endless possibilities, especially again with technology and our phones.
Yep.
There are people, you know, making, you know, maybe it's an extra few $100s a month, a few thousand, millions of dollars by utilizing this technology. Maybe, again, it can just be digital content creation or, you know,
affiliate marketing. There's so many different things out there. It's so important to teach, especially our young kids. It's just, it's a shame that they don't teach this in school. Like they got rid of like PE in most elementary schools, right? So they're not doing any activity, and we don't want to go there with what our youth looks like right now in terms of weight gain and all that kind of stuff that's going on. And, you know, just the fact that just getting out and running around, what that does for your brain. But then we don't teach. I think there's only like, I'm going to be wrong on this, but it's under 15, and I want to say it's only 11 states in the United States that require a high school form of like finance class that they have to take a semester of to like graduate from high school. Like, why? How is that not like required in every single state? And it's like taught for not just 6 months, it's taught for the entire year. I mean, you can't, I mean, to throw kids out nowadays at 18 or 19 with no financial well-being is ludicrous.
Yeah, I remember having like a life skills kind of course, You know, it's kind of like a pivot with the home economics.
Yeah.
And so it was just like they tell you about checking and savings, and then they teach you how to write a check. And I didn't have a check. My mother didn't. My mom's face is probably up at the banks as most wanted, because that was my reality. The payday loans, like
Yeah.
I come from that. And this is, so I want to ask you about this. This is really the most important thing. You know, again, we're still talking about tactics here, but it's that inner psychology to getting us to do the tactics. You know, I grew up in a situation where, you know, we were constantly behind the ball. Like, I moved, I think I counted maybe like 11 times because something happened with my mom paying rent, my mom and my stepfather. And so we were moving around a lot, again, having issues with, you know, checks bouncing, going from one bank to the next to try to get a new account, to being banned from the banks, to doing the payday loans, to just constantly hustling. And so I would hear these, number one, I would obviously see it in my environment and living in poverty, which in the United States I always get as caveat. And poverty in the United States is very different from other places in the world.
Correct.
Like, you still got a TV. You know what I mean? I might have got the Nintendo like a year later, but you know what I mean? Like, we still, there's levels to it. But, you know, I would hear these things from my mom, these certain phrases like, do I look like I'm made of money?
Yep.
Money doesn't grow on trees.
That
I'm
sets-
broke as a joke. That was my mom. That was like her, that was her motto. You know,
And that
like, Mom,
sets
can I
into
have
your
a dollar?
brain. That's your mom, and that sets into the child's psychology right off the bat. And there's so many people. It's the reason why I've kind of pivoted and started talking about it a little bit more, because my DMs on Instagram are filled with like young adults, even older adults, that are like, please help. I have no idea. I have some money in my savings, you know, which is the worst place to have money, in the savings account. Like, why? Why would you put your money in a savings account? There's no % interest. There's other places that you can put your money and it's still liquid and you could get a little bit of percentage. You know, I would rather get 2% than 0%, right?
Like what?
Wealthfront. There's all kinds of wealthfront.com is they're at 2% right now. They used to be higher. They do fluctuate with the interest rate. So when COVID hit and the interest rates went to 0, nobody was giving parked money. So if you had I teach that you should have an emergency fund, right? An emergency fund is, I say that it's anywhere between 1 and 6 months of income that you need. Well, and I'm talking about income to live, not your Starbucks, not your, you know, going out to dinner, but your food, your shelter, that kind of stuff, insurance. What you add those up, and then you start putting aside, like, you know, what you need to feel comfortable. I say 1 to 6 because I say once you hit that 1 month mark, let's say your number's $8,000 and you have $8,000 saved up in your emergency fund. I want you to keep adding to the emergency fund, but I want you to add more to your investment. So there's like kind of a balance. Get that first month, you know, down, because that's security. That feels good.
So would the emergency fund be in a savings
Wealthfront.
account?
No, it'd be in Wealthfront because it's making interest and it's still liquid.
What is Wealthfront?
It's Wealthfront is, they do all kinds of stuff. It's like a bank, but a bank that you don't walk into, so that you can do all kinds of things there. You can have different portfolios there. You can put your retirement, everything. It's just a platform. But what they want to do is they want your money. They're going to give you a little bit more % than what a bank's going to do, and they're using that money. They're using your money while it's parked there to make more money than 2%, but that's okay. I mean, the money's guaranteed. It's safe. It's insured. But you are making a little bit of extra money. So why would you put your emergency fund in a savings account when you can get access to it from Wealthfront and get 2%?
Yeah, and you just said that they're using your money, but I don't think everybody knows that banks are using your money as well.
Everybody's using your money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you put $200,000 down on a house, and I know your show is worldwide. So when I say 200,000, that would be 20% down on $1 million house, which is we're sitting here in Southern California, which is still not that big of a house. And I understand that. I don't want to demean anybody across the country, but the average house in America is just under $400,000. I think it's $395 right now. That's the average. So, you know, I like to work with whole numbers, especially when we're doing a podcast here. So, $1 million, you put 20% down, that's $200,000. What do you think the bank's doing with that $200,000? You think they're just like letting it sit there? No, they're going to loan it out to other people and making more money off it. Banks make money when they're loaning. That's why the banks right now are a place where people are investing, because the interest rates are going up. When the interest rates go up, banks make more money.
All right. So we just dipped into another great, like, this is super valuable, this simple practice. Instead of having our money sitting in a general checking account or a savings account, wealthfront.com or something of the like.
Yes.
But I want to ask you again, let's kind of drill into, like, how can we change our psychology, our mindset around money when, again, we've had, well, we'll just say, bad habits or poor habits for so long. How do you actually flip on those switches in your mind to get you to start making better decisions?
First off is you have to identify that you have that mindset.
Yeah. Yes.
You have to identify that it's not my fault, but for whatever reason, my parents, my upbringing, whatever, put this mindset in that's like, that money's kind of scary, and like it can be gone, and there's all these different, like you just said, like, money doesn't grow on trees, and that kind of thing, rather than a parent that said, you want to buy that? Okay, let's sit down and figure out how we can earn money to do that, and putting that mindset in, where there's always a way. We can go sell something, we can go get a job, we could do all those things that have different streams of income to be able to earn the money. And I think once people identify that they have the mindset of like scarcity, they have to have little wins, right? In order to, one, if it's a huge problem, I'm a huge proponent, so are you, therapy. Like there could be something that's underlying there that you need to like resolve and like talk about, and like why is it so scary to you? Like, what does it mean? Maybe your parents didn't have money, but why is that affecting you so much? Because you're your own person. So therapy might be an option, but just like little wins, just like when we're talking about, I want to take this back to the health, like when you go in and you see like results, you've been lifting for 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden, like, you go back to do another 3 sets of 10 and you're like, I'm stronger. Or all of a sudden you put on a pair of pants and you're like, I'm a size down, or whatever the goal is. I'm looking in the mirror and things are changing. So those little small wins start to add up, and it's the same thing with your money. So you start to save, you put a goal, you're like, I have $2,000 on my credit card and I want to get rid of it. And you put yourself in a position to win, meaning you set aside money. You decide, like, I'm not going out to dinner until this thing is paid off. You give yourself, a job to get that thing down. Once you make that win, sometimes that's all you need. It's just that one win. And it triggers like, oh, I can do this. I can do this over and over and over again.
Same thing with fitness.
Same thing with fitness.
As soon as you said awareness, it knocked over a series of dominoes for me, because with that awareness, and you actually get face to face with, what I have an issue with here. I'm lacking it. I'm lacking understanding in this part of my life. The next part is, let me learn about it, right? Let me get educated and learn a little something about it, because what can happen with fitness is we see, okay, I've got a problem. I'm pre-diabetic now. I'm, struggling with my energy, all these things. If we don't get educated, we can be educated by the marketing machine around us. And next thing you know, we're sipping on these nasty Slim Fast shakes trying to get in shape, versus like,
you look for the easy out.
Let me invest in education and get plugged into people who actually know and care. Mm-hmm. And that's, again, why I'm glad to have you here.
Yeah. And I think too, the one thing that I think is very important with finance, where, a lot of times in the fitness industry, you might need somebody to like push you a little bit, to like, with a trainer or somebody like that to get you started, a lot of knowledge so you don't hurt yourself. With finance, I think it's really important to take those baby steps and get those wins yourself, to prove it to yourself, like I can do this. Because the fact is, if you have let's say you have $2,000 that you want to get rid of credit card debt, or you want to get rid of that $2,000 because it's like hanging over your head, right? You're not going to go hire somebody to help you get rid of $2,000. You're gonna have to do it yourself. So you have to. And when you do it yourself, it's just like anything else. It's pen to paper. It's like figure out I tell everybody, first step I have anybody do when they're trying to figure this out is like, pull up your debit card, your credit card, and pull all those statements, your bank statements, and go through 1 month. I'm wealthy right now. I have enough. We have enough money, right? And we like to invest and we like to do nice things. I still to this day, every single month, go through those. Do I have to? No, but I do, because I find stuff. I find stuff that, maybe we decided that, here's a perfect example. We're going to have a giant Zoom call, webinar, over 3,000 people. And for our listeners, Zoom has different levels that you have to pay for, and 3,000 is a marker, right? So you can get a Zoom for under 3,000, but to go over 3,000 costs a different amount of money, and it's a monthly service, right? So we've upgraded for the month. Now, if I don't remember that, then the next month they're going to charge us the same amount, and we don't have that type of webinar. So in order to, there's a lot of things going on in the world, and people forget those kind of things.
Absolutely.
And then all of a sudden, now you're paying, $4,000 for the next month, and you don't have any Zoom scheduled. So you're out $4,000 or whatever it might be. But so that's one of the reasons why I do it. And I catch that stuff all the time. And subscriptions are huge. You sign up for something thinking that you're going to do it. And then all of a sudden you're like, maybe there was a trial period or something like that, and you missed the trial period, and all of a sudden 3 months later it's like $9.95, $9. You're like, I don't even use this thing anymore. I've had people like in one night like save $300, but that's not just $300. That's $300 times 12.
Right, in the year.
For the year. Because if they didn't look at it, so I always tell people to start with that. Like, look at your statements and stuff like it. Figure out where there's money just flowing out that you don't need to do that anymore. And then all of a sudden you also start seeing your spending habits. My daughter just the other day, she's living on her own, and she texted me, and they're both my kids have very good money mindsets. They're both multiple streams of income people, and they understand it. They both have investment portfolios with E-Trade, and they understand that stuff. And she texted me. She's like, Dad, I just deleted my Instacart app. I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah, I do exactly what you said. I looked at my last 2 weeks, and it was crazy. I like doubled my order, because what happens is when you go to Instacart, you're like, maybe I need like some chicken or something or whatever it might be. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're ordering like 15 things. It's like when you go to Costco, right? And she noticed that. She deleted it. She just texted me back 2 weeks after that. She goes, Dad, it's down. It's down like 50%. And she's like, that's money I didn't need to be spending. And so getting in that habit, it's just a habit for her now. It's not rocket scientists. Like, anybody can check their stuff, download their bank account. There's absolutely no reason why you can't do what I just said. There's none, unless you just decide I don't want to do it. Sunday afternoon, do it.
So do you do it on a certain day each month?
Yeah, I usually pick a Sunday when it's just like, it's like casual. It's easy for me. During football season, it might be like that Sunday night football game, and I just download it right on my, I just look on my laptop. I just put them up. I just scroll down. I know what I'm looking for, and I catch a lot of things. I catch a lot of things with our business in terms of, credit card processing. At the beginning, when we were in debt $400,000, we used to, like you said, we had a fitness company, and we used to do DVDs, right? And I figured out like, oh, wait a second, we are ordering these DVDs at 10,000 every quarter, so that's 40,000 for the year. So I just went to the company. I was like, what if I buy 50,000 of them up front? Price got cut in half. So instead of paying for that, I think they were like $1 a piece. So instead of paying, they were $2 when I was paying them for 10,000 at a time, and then when I went to 50,000, they were only $1. That's $50,000 savings. So you do that, and that's a business and stuff like that. But you can do that in your household stuff too. You can do that with insurance. You can do it with lots of things.
Wow, this is awesome. I would encourage people, especially if they don't have this habit, creating structures that make it real. So, for example, maybe it's Money Mondays, right? So you got the first Monday of each month. Put on your calendar. Put on your calendar to just focus on checking in on your finances. And of course, having a business, you can maybe have somebody on board or an accountant or somebody who's looking into this stuff with you as a teammate. However, again, with money it's kind of like same thing. No one else can do your push-ups for you.
Correct.
With your finances, you still want to keep your finger on the pulse of it.
100%.
Because, there's been many stories where an accountant or somebody else is missing something or not doing what they're supposed to do, and you're left out of the loop. And again, that stuff can go on for months.
Yeah.
And so I want to ask you about this. You said the word insurance earlier. So I want to ask you about, what about investing in things like life insurance?
Okay, so life insurance is one that I've been kind of studying right now. And here was our philosophy with insurance, with life insurance. So at the beginning, when the kids were young, we had like a term policy where we were both, Shalene and I were young, we're in our 20s, we took a physical, our insurance was so low, but it could pay off the houses. It could pay, you just make things comfortable if something were to happen to one of us or both of us, right? And then about 5 years ago, I was like, this seems kind of a waste because we have more money than we have things out there. So if something were to happen to Shalene or I, there's enough money that, things would be paid off. There's equity in the house. Like it's just not there. So, but insurance, I think, is really important. Like life insurance is important, especially for the young couple that married, and if something were to happen, a major, death or, something like that. But so I've been researching this a little bit, and there's this program called MPI. MPI is a program that a gentleman by the name of Curtis Ray took like loopholes in the insurance space that was only granted to people with extreme wealth. So what happened is there was, before he invented MPI, you could only qualify for this type of insurance if you had $5 million liquid or not. So how many people do you know that have $5 million liquid? There's not a lot of people around there just sitting around, I got $5 million liquid. So he spent 3 years with an insurance company that's been around for over 100 years, AAA, everything is approved. Everything that he does is, on the up and up. People should, I encourage people to go look at MPI, Curtis Ray. I have no affiliation. I don't get anything from it, but what I've wanted to help people are young kids, young adults, people in their 20s, just starting out, and entrepreneurs. Those are kind of our two sweet spots that, we work with a lot, having 2 young kids, and then also just our business. We're working with entrepreneurs all the time. And this insurance policy, it is a life insurance policy, but it's also an investment platform where you're investing money, it's compounding over time, and it's growing. And at a certain point, you can actually take money against it, so you can borrow against the plan. It's an amazing platform to look at. I encourage anybody that doesn't have life insurance already, looking for new life insurance, somebody that doesn't have any investment portfolio, somebody that's just like listening to this right now and like, I don't invest money in anything, and I don't have insurance, and I don't have a retirement, I would look into this. There's millions of YouTubes, and he's all over social media, and it's a good platform. Now, just like with anything else with investing, you have to have time. So the more time you have, the more lucrative it's going to be, obviously. So if somebody goes into a plan like this where they're investing every single month a portion of their salary or their income, and they're in their 20s versus us who are in our late 40s, early 50s, obviously the advantage goes to the younger person. So it's one of those things that it takes time. There's no quick, get rich quick schemes. And he'll tell you that it takes time. And then the other portion of this plan is it is life insurance, so you have to pass a physical. So those are the two aspects. But it is a good compounding vehicle. And if you don't have insurance or you don't have some kind of retirement plan, it's a good program to look into.
Awesome. I love that you're being, again, it's just honest. If you're starting earlier, absolutely better. But if you didn't start earlier, the second best time to start is now.
Yes.
And with that said, another key word you just said is investing. And that's a heavy word. Like, that can mean so many things. There's so many different variations on what that can mean.
Yeah.
But I just want to, again, look at simplicity. What is the simplest, most obvious on-ramp for people? Because, again, versus just your money sitting in an account and essentially, I guess, depreciating at this point.
Yeah.
Versus your money being able to make money for you just by putting it in a different account. What about that simple S&P 500 on-ramp? What do you think of that?
It's the best. It's for new investors. It's the only thing you should do. You should literally just get an index fund of the S&P 500. Vanguard has one. I'll give you the ticker symbol. It's VOO. If you Google VOO, you'll see Vanguard S&P 500. Go ahead and Google the stats on that for the last 20 years. It averages 10.75%. Great. Some years, like right now, it might be down 8%. Good. Don't look at it.
Isn't that even better to invest now?
It's better to invest now. I mean,
because things are down. So
people got scared, though. I know people that took all their money out
right
in this year in March, April, right? And this last month in July, the stock market went up over 10%. You just lost. When you take the money out, you've lost. As long as you keep the money in, it's just a paper loss. So if my portfolio is down $100,000 and I don't sell, and then all of a sudden the next month it goes back up, I'm back to where I started at. As soon as you sell, now you're saying, and a lot of those people that sold, they're like, I'm going to get back in the market when it gets better. Oh yeah, really? You can time the market? Like, that doesn't exist. Warren Buffett laughs at people like that. Like, you can't time the market. He's literally said on record at 90 some years old, like, I don't think I've ever bought the bottom of a stock, and I don't think I've ever sold at the top of a stock. And he's the greatest investor of all time. He gets $500 million in dividends from Coca-Cola alone a year.
Gee.
So I mean, it's like it's time. It's just like, how much time can you spend and to get started? But you are 100% right. You could literally put your money in every single month. You could allocate a certain amount of money every single month to the S&P 500.
Can you explain what the S&P 500 is?
S&P 500 is an index of 500 stocks, and it's basically all U.S. stocks. So it's a compilation of all these different stocks in every different industry. So you're completely diverse. So you'll have bank stocks, and you'll have, airlines, and you'll have, technology, and you'll have, everybody, if you turn on the news right now, you hear about like semiconductors, right? Like, chips and stuff. There's a shortage, all that kind of stuff. But, you have all those. You have consumer brands. You have, you'll have Nike. You'll own all these stocks in one fund. So basically, when an industry starts to tank and another one goes up, like let's say, for instance, let's say the financial industry is not doing very well, but oil and gas is doing great, right? They kind of offset themselves. Now, you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, so you're not like, I'm just going to buy all Apple, right? And hope Apple goes up and up and up. But if something happened where Apple didn't, you could lose a lot of money. And in the S&P 500, that's probably not going to happen because there's other stocks to offset it. So it's very consistent. Now, you're not going to get the giant, huge return, but it's going to be consistent, and that's what matters. I mean, it averages 10% over like 20 years. It's a lot of money compounding. So every year, you put 100,000 in and you make 10%, now you have 110. So the next year you make 100, you make 10% on the 110. So it just goes up and up and up. And the when you really start benefit from it is when you get to the mindset of like a percentage that you're going to allocate to your investing every single year. I say that 5 to 15% is really good. Between 5 and 15% of your income going into your investment portfolio. And that might also be your like real estate. It doesn't always have to be like stocks and stuff like that. Once you get a little bit more sophisticated, you can get into real estate or, that kind of thing.
You just said another huge keyword. I'm just pulling out these keywords that you're saying. You said consistent. That's another tie back to health and fitness. It's not that big, again, flash in the pan thing, which can happen from time to time. You might find something that really clicks, but it's really the things that you're doing consistently. And also, again, with finance, we're stacking conditions so that these things are happening consistently. So I want to ask you about with the S&P 500, is this something that we can do ourselves?
We can set up the account right now. Yeah, you can set up the account right now. I did write down 3 names. Like you could do it with E-Trade. It's all free. E-Trade, Ameritrade, or Charles Schwab. I think we might even be in a Charles Schwab building. I saw it outside somewhere. But anyway, those 3 have all platforms. There's other platforms. People always ask me, what about this one? What about this one? I like the big ones. Like they ain't going anywhere. Like, so, and you can sign up for the account. You link it to your bank account. You can transfer the money in. You can, you could buy the symbol for the Vanguard fund is called VU. You could literally right now, you could sign up for an E-Trade account. You could put money in the E-Trade account. You could look at how much VU is trading for. Maybe it's $300 a share or whatever. And you could buy a share, and all this could be done within a couple of days. I think they might, when they transfer the money, it might be 48-hour things for new accounts or something. But you could be starting investing right now. And then there's all these apps you could set it up where it's like automatically every single month on a certain date, it just buys shares, because you don't want to try to time the market. So it's better just to put it in once a month or once a quarter. Like, cause some months you'll be up and some months like if you did it this year, right? Every quarter. So the first 2 quarters, you're putting money in, the market's down. Now you just put in money and the market's up. So now it balances itself out.
This is fascinating. And again, I love the ease, having that on-ramp. Again, we could do this stuff on our phone now today, which is such a huge advantage. So what about, you mentioned this is part of a plan. Again, like the best way to get results with fitness is to have a plan, having some modicum of a plan. And you mentioned 5 to 15% of our income going towards investing and, really looking out again for our future, for our kids' future. 5 to 15%. Should we automate this somehow?
You can. You can go through the apps and automate that, or you could put it. You could also I mean, it's just like your phone. Like you have like you've already said, let's put a reminder in for Money Monday, right? Let's put in another reminder every Friday that we're going to pay off our credit card by using our debit card so we can get that 2% back. So let's do another one where like on the first of every quarter, I have to put my allocated money into the account, right? So we just put in 3 reminders and we don't have to remember it. It's just like, okay, I'm putting in 5 to 15% of my income, right? So I make $100,000. So I'm going to do 10%. So I'm going to put in $10,000. 10,000 divided by 4 is what? $2,500. So you're putting $2,500 in every quarter. Done. And you set that, and it becomes a habit. And then what happens is you start to see after 5 or 6 years, you're like, wait a second, this is pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And people that are doing 10 go, man, I wish I was doing 15,
Yeah.
and, there's been years where Shalene and I do well over 15 because there's been years where we don't need the extra money. So we put in, I'm not putting in, if I have an extra amount of money, it's not going into a savings account. It's either going into our business that's going to make us more money, or it's going into real estate, portfolio type thing, or it's going into our investments, because at this point of our careers, our investment portfolio makes us more money than anything else we have.
This was one of the, again, good intention things that I did, and it has a purpose, but learning from you, I see where I could have done far more, far better, which was I made a decision, we'll just say maybe it was 10 years ago, to automatically have a certain amount, maybe it's $100 a month or $200 a month of my income going into another account, right? But it was going into a savings account. I think it was like maybe a 1% savings account somewhere. But again, this was a while ago. And I honestly forgot about it. Like, it just starts happening, you forget about it.
Yeah.
And then one day my wife told me, did you know there was like, just say like $3,000 in this particular account? I'm just like, damn, really? Like I didn't, because it was on automation, it never touched me. Like,
imagine if that was going into an S&P 500 account, every single 10%, 10%, 10%, it'd probably been like $9,000 or $10,000. Yeah. It's great. But it's good too to like always be aware of where your money's going and what's the best use of it. I can already see people on this show, like listening to the show, and go 5 to 10%. But what if I have debt? Right? And here's where I differ from other people, because I want you to get the habit, because I think once people get habits and they get success, they get fired up. Right? So I coached football for years, right? And practice sucks. But winning is great. But if you practice over and over again and it becomes a habit, that's what makes the win. It's the same thing with everything else. When you practice that habit of fitness, then you get the win. When you practice the habit of finances, then you get the win. So here is my controversial, but this is the way I think. Remember, we are $400,000 in debt. We paid off those credit cards. We paid off all the debt. But while I was paying off that debt, we started to invest a little bit, right? I talk about like how you can pay off credit card debt, and we can go into that if you want, but I'm always about the win and the feeling, right? But I wanted to start investing because I wanted to create that habit. I needed to create that habit. I was coming off as addicted to gambling, right? I needed to create a different habit for me. And so most people would say, get all your debt rid of before you start investing. But then what happens is you get rid of all that debt. Now you got to create a new habit of investing. Do them both. Get rid of the debt and start investing. Not a lot, just a little bit. It doesn't take a lot. Everybody thinks you need thousands and thousands of dollars to start investing. No, you don't. You don't need thousands and thousands of dollars. Guess what you can do now? You can buy fractional shares. People are like, what's fractional shares? You literally, if Amazon, before, we're getting a little technical, but let's say 2 months ago, Amazon was a $3,000 stock, right? People are like, I want to buy Amazon, but I don't have 3,000. I don't want to buy just one share of Amazon, right? So you could buy fractions of it. You could buy 10% of a share, right, or whatever. And so $300 or whatever. So there's no really excuse because you can buy fractional shares. You can start. The S&P 500 is such a great way to start. It's you don't even have to do anything else.
So, man, I've never done this frequently, but you said another catchword here. You said real estate. All right. Now, there's so much to this, and again, that this would be placed for a whole other conversation.
Yes.
But since you said it, I want to just ask you a general kind of question about it, because when it comes to real estate, there are two main domains with this. It's you working in real estate and the, purchasing and flipping and all the things that can come with real estate, you getting properties.
Like a business.
And versus the other side, which is the home that you live in and the framing that your house is an investment that was put into our culture. Like, where did that idea come from with, because it's the American dream. Let's talk about that.
Now you're talking about like the 1950s. So the banks needed a place to put, they wanted money. They wanted to figure out like, okay, all these homes, let's build residential homes, and then we will convince through marketing that the American dream is to own your own home. But who wins? Who wins when you purchase a home? The bank wins. So because they're getting the money up front, they're getting interest on the payments, they're getting all that kind of stuff. I have a theory on, and the way you explain it is exactly right. There's two aspects. There's real estate investing, flipping homes, buying apartments, doing syndicated deal with apartments. And a syndicated deal with apartments means like you put a group together, you buy an apartment, right? And you share all that stuff. Maybe you give it to like a management company, and you just, you collect off the rents, right? That's not what I'm talking about. That's different. I'm talking about the place that you live in, right? I don't think it's an investment. I don't think you, where you live and where you raise your family is considered an investment. And this is the reason why. Is because for the most part, you're not going to make money on your house, no matter how long you live in it. Because what happens is there's so many different payments that you have to make, right? You have property tax, you have insurance, you have upkeep, right? You have the down payment. What else do you have? Your wife comes home and says, let's redo the kitchen. Let's redo the master bathroom. Let's put in a pool, right? So you have all these expenses, and people forget to add all those up when they go and sell their house. They literally they'll buy their house for $500,000, sell their house for $650,000 10 years later, and they'll go, I made $150,000 on the house. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Because you got to go add up all that stuff. Yeah. You got to add up 10 years of property taxes. You have to insurance for your house, the upkeep. I mean, the upkeep on houses, right? So if you want to buy a house, go ahead and buy a house. That's it. Just go into it knowing that most of the time you're not going to make money off the house. I mean, I live here in Southern California, and I'm in my fourth home right now, and I've only made money on one of them. Lost money on the other two. Because the other thing is, you don't know when that housing market's going to be good or bad. You have to move. And, 2 months ago, if you had to move, it was probably a pretty good time. But 6 months from now, I don't know.
Yeah.
And nobody else does. So I encourage people to look at buying a home, because to put 20% down, and I know everybody, your real estate listeners will come for me. Your realtors will come for me now. They'll be like, oh, there's other plans that you don't have to put 20% down. You can put 3% down. Yeah, well, that's what happened in 2008. It's like people were in way over their heads. People were in way over their heads, And if you don't put 20% down on your house, then the chances are you're in a big mortgage, right? You're in way over your head, and you're just getting in there. And the real estate agent doesn't care if you put 3% or 20% down, because they're gone. They already got their commission. So they don't really care. But I always say, like, you should be able to put 20% down on your house if you want to buy it. That's a lot of money. So let me ask you a question. So if you had, let's say we're just going to deal with let's go with a $500,000 house, because the median price is $400,000. So 20% down on that is what? $100K, right? So what if you put that $100,000 that you were going to put down, because it's gone, and you put it in the S&P 500? And then every single year, right? Not the 5 to 15%, that's separate. But every single year, you took what that house would have cost in terms of property taxes, upkeep, insurance, and you took that amount of money, and you also added that to the every single year. And at the end of 10 years, right, with a 10%, return on that investment, and you're adding to it every single year, where do you think you're better off? You think you're better off buying and selling that home, or renting and investing that money? And it's different for everybody, because there's not too many people out there disciplined enough to do that. Because most people that I know that rent their house, they use all their extra money and they go do stuff with it. They go do on vacations, and they go do stuff that they probably shouldn't be doing. But if you could invest all that money, I think for the most part you're going to come out ahead renting versus buying. But if you're not going to invest, and this is where I get my message confused to people, I'm telling you right now, go buy your house if you won't invest. It only works if renting only works if you're going to invest the difference. If you're like, oh hell no, I'm not going to invest it. I'm going to Mykonos for the summer. I'm going to spend that 20 grand going,
breaking plates.
Yeah, breaking plates, going to Europe, right? Then buy a house. Because that's just like, it's like you're putting money in, maybe you get lucky and you'll sell it someday for more than you purchased it for, and you can think that you made $150,000 when you put a pool in and a new kitchen and a new master, and you forget about all that stuff.
Right. We just frame stuff the way that we want to see it.
Correct.
Like, again, you just gave it a very, very clear example of what happens over the course of that 10 years. Like, I made $150K.
Yeah.
Negating the fact that you invested an extra $200,000 into the house, not to mention the interest that the bank got and all these other things.
All the little things.
So it's the framing in our minds. So it's the stories we tell ourselves and getting back to a place of logic. So I love this.
Yep.
And I want to ask you about one more buying/leasing thing. I remember when I first came to you guys' house, maybe it's about 6 years ago, I think. So Sleep Smarter was coming out, and I came to hang out with you guys, and I hadn't really been out to LA, period. And I'm just like, man, you guys, this is a dope house, a dope experience, a dope vibe. And I saw Sierra, she's jumping out of that new car smell, and I'm just like, man, they have nice cars. And like, but the thing is, on the surface, what tends to happen is people get into these extremes of they're spending money they don't have to have those kind of things, or they're like living the meek lifestyle, and like you don't see Warren Buffett wearing Air Jordans or whatever. You got these two extremes. But then there are these people who show it's a both and world, right? You can have nice things, and you can also be smart with your money. And so part of that, seeing the cars, I'm curious about buying or leasing a car. And does this depend on whether or not maybe you have a business or something like that?
When it comes to like buying and leasing things, I defer to an accountant every single time, CPA. So whoever's your CPA, I think that you need to talk to them, because first of all, it changes in every state. So like I could give you advice from a California point of view, but it might be different in Texas or Florida or New York or something like that. So I don't like to give advice. Now, through a business, I lease the cars because there's a portion of it that you can write off, right? So That's why we lease the cars. Now, getting back to your point where, like, some people like live outside their means, or or they have that common balance, like like Shalene and I do. If you can't buy it twice, I don't think you should buy it. That's my rule. So then I do that with the houses too. I was like, you want to buy $1 million house? It's going to cost you $200,000 to get in it. You have $400,000 bucks? And they're like, no, I have $200,000. I go, okay, so now you're house poor. There's no emergency fund. There's no, like, now all your money's sitting in a house.
Yeah.
Right. So I always say, like, can you do it twice? Can you buy it twice? Then you can afford it.
That's powerful, Bret. Like literally, this is the mindset that I grew up with. Is like you hustle to get the amount needed, yep, and you get the thing, and then you got to deal with all the other stuff.
But like, then it's for example, just a thing.
Like exactly,
it's just a piece of. It's a thing.
It's just not that important. But we have this sense of urgency. So I'm thinking about when I was trying to get a car, and you get that amount, and then what about getting the license plates and the registration and all these things, and also thinking about gas and thinking about all these
windows
other pieces.
Or whatever, new tires, new rims, whatever it might be.
But I love this principle but if you can't buy it twice, then you can't afford it. And just starting to take on that mantle.
Yeah.
So not to say that you can't, again, go after those things that you enjoy or nice things, but just keep it in mind, like, it's just a healthier money mindset.
Yeah.
To know that, I can get this, I can afford this thing twice.
Yeah.
Right. And so now I have more of a permission. I've got myself to a level. I've trained myself to a place, again, going back to fitness, to where I'm qualified to do that exercise.
Yeah. Of
purchasing that thing.
100%. And going back to the real estate thing, I love real estate. I'm a syndicated partner in a apartment complex in Florida, and one out here in California. And the one in California, I think we got into it 3.5 years ago. It's crazy how much equity it's got in it, right? And I love real estate, and I love realtors, and I love the real estate business. I'm just saying that there's always an opportunity to look like through a different lens, other than what banks decided to tell you the American dream was to own your own house. That was a campaign by banks. So when somebody's campaign, right? I mean, the smoking industry used to say that smoking was good for you, right? But just because somebody tells you that it's good for you and it's an investment doesn't mean that it necessarily is true. And all I want to encourage people is to kind of like look at a different alternative than what is like the status quo. And if you're willing to do that, I mean, the sky's the limit in terms of, investing. And it's just like anything else. When you start seeing results in the gym and with your fitness and with your health and the way you're eating, and it makes you feel better and it makes you sleep better and you feel like $1 million, the same thing happens with finances. All of a sudden you start investing and you're like, wow, I just made myself $1,000 I want to do more. And then you do more, and then you do more. And then 16 years later, 15 years later, you're like, you feel good. And not to mention that, if we're talking to spouses here, talking about partners in finance, it's like the number one reason for divorce.
Right. Number one
is money issues, not infidelity or anything like that. It's money. They have different relationships with money, and money's always an issue. So
yeah, it's not weird fetishes,
No, it's
people just like super into feet, or
no, it's money.
Pokemon.
Yeah,
it's money.
Yeah, it's money.
It's what's splitting people up.
Yeah,
and this is something, again, most of us, a vast majority of us, have no education on it, and
it's not your fault. Like if you're listening to this right now and you're like, God, and this is getting you down. Don't let it get you down. Make it be the motivation to get like started. Like, take one or two things that we talked about today and start doing them like right now. Whether it's like paying down a little bit more of that credit card, going and getting a cash. I get DMs all the time. It's like, I was doing a debit card. I just got a cash back card and I got $50 back from this card. You just like $50. Like people, you don't know, that changes people's mindset.
Yeah. Man, thank you again. You came up to see me and you just give, and that was the mindset that you were coming in with. I don't think you know, but I know that you have a course
Yes.
on this. And I went and started looking into some of these stories. It's not just the parents, it's not just, men and women, it's kids who are like, some of these parents are like listening to the programs and that you put together with their kids, and their kids are getting results.
That's what I wanted. It's all audio. I don't want any distractions. You just listen to my voice, and I give action steps and what to do. And I get in DMs of people like, I'm on my walk with my kids. We're listening to it. I got 3 homeschool parents that have bought the course, and they're going to teach their kids. Part of their curriculum is going to be the course and stuff, because I'm not talking over anybody's, just like this right now. I'm not putting any fancy words and all that kind of stuff like that, because it doesn't need to be that way. It just needs to be like, baseline stuff, and just get started. Because there's so many people out there, like we were just talking about, that are like listening to this and they're saying, I don't have anything, and they're going to tune out. They really are. They're going to tune this out, and they'll be like, la 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 la, numbers, investing, blah blah blah. But it's so simple to start, and it's going to make you feel so good that you're doing something for yourself and your family, and it could even lead to like their families.
Yeah, it could change the course of your family's history.
Legacy,
yeah.
Yep.
So where can people get the course?
We'll probably put it in the show notes, but it's just Chalene.com/money matters. I'm not big time enough to get my own like domain, I guess.
Hey, listen, Shaleen, obviously she's an icon, but you guys are a powerful, powerful team, just remarkable. And what we really admire about you guys is that you're also, just about your family. Like you guys love your kids, you show up, you've really shown me that it's a both and world. And because the idea in the sphere of building your own empire, your own business, is that you have to sacrifice your family in many ways. And of course, there are going to be seasons for things when you're grinding and going hard, but we can create systems in our lives to where we're doing the things that matter most, which for most of us, a lot of times we're trying to make money so that we can take care of our family. But our families need us.
Correct.
More than anything. So what if we found a way to do both? So that's Shaleen.com/money matters. That's CHALENE.com/money matters. We'll put that for everybody in the show notes. Bret Johnson, you're the man. Thank you again for coming to hang out with me.
I appreciate it, because I know this can help. I know this can help people.
Hey, if you like this video, make sure to check out this video right here to optimize your mindset.
Most people suffer from an attention deficit disorder and an intention deficit disorder. So their mind is all over the place. Their mind has been hijacked by worry, fear, anxiety,